back to the Hawks Physio channel. Today is another training tip. So basically today's training tip is about how often is the best frequency per week to train a muscle or muscle group. Obviously this is hotly debated. The old-fashioned way is to train a body part with the row split and doing pretty much once per week, which is kind of what the bodybuilders of yesteryear used to do. But obviously science moves on and things change. So the first thing is what's the reason behind these things? So I suppose it's the effect of the protein synthesis, the muscle building phase, and also recovery as well. So obviously you've got to look at what's optimum. So the first thing is protein synthesis. So what effectively is building your muscle? So obviously the training itself is the stimulus for that to occur. But obviously the effect of that doesn't happen while you're training, it happens after you're training. So clearly recovery is massively important. Obviously, food, so your diet, sleep and various other factors as well all factor into recovery. So what they found is in the research that protein synthesis is effectively occurring for about anywhere between 2 to 4 days. Again, there's variability from person to person, and it also depends on how much stimulus you put into your training. So they find that it peaks, I think at maybe 6 hours or something, and then obviously I think it might continue on and then it dampens down towards the end, but generally up to about 4 days. Now obviously the key is if you go only once per week and say you are more on the 2-day end, then it means you get 2 days of protein synthesis, 2 days of effective building of muscle, and then after that it just drops off. And then really you're always remembering that you're breaking down muscle and building muscle at the same time. So obviously if you're breaking down muscle and you're not getting the protein synthesis effect to build muscle, then you're actually starting to lose muscle on the tail end of that. So you're kind of going, it might not be a 2-step forward, 2-step back per week on that muscle group, but it could be a 2-step forward, 1-step back. So of course the key here is trying to find what's the optimum amount where before it drops back you've picked it up again. Obviously bearing in mind recovery rates and obviously potential for injury and so on and so forth. So basically what it looks like is training certainly once a week is not going to be right and not going to be optimum. In fact, research has been done, and a fair amount of it too, that shows that it's clear that training twice a week is better than training once a week. The hypertrophy gains are much greater, so the muscle growth is much better. So effectively that shows already that the old-fashioned way isn't the right way. Now the question is, what about more than that? So obviously if you train more, is that not even better? Well, up to a point maybe. The question is, you've got to recover. So obviously it depends on how maximum you're pushing. What I would advise generally speaking is to not necessarily train to failure all through the week. If you train to failure all week and you train a body part or a muscle group twice in that week or 3 times in that week, your nervous system is going to get shot, and you just won't recruit the muscles in the next session. And of course, you're not going to get the same output, and therefore not going to get the same training effect. And the muscle, if you train it that hard, can take a week to recover. So what I would probably say is you're probably best training to failure for the first half, the first half of the week where you're training the body part once per week at failure. Second half of the week, if you're training the body part twice a week, say, then probably come off failure slightly. Again, you want to go relatively close to failure, but you don't want to go all the way. So you could drop off by, 3 reps to failure and work at that. Basically, there are other things as well that are involved in this, because obviously what people go on about is how many sets per week per muscle group, which is kind of true. But again, this changes depending on your periodization in your training. Obviously, at the start of a block, you're going to be lower on your volume. Obviously still volume's got to be up, but you're going to be lower towards the end of the block. And the reason for that is it takes longer, doesn't it? After you first start your training block, you get much more DOMS, much more delayed onset muscle soreness, and the research has also found that you get much more protein synthesis actually in the first week than at any other point. You get more muscle damage in the first week than any other point in a training block with new stimulus. So obviously this means, well, that's obviously very important. But they've still found that hypertrophy is continuing on because of the cumulative effect. Although the peak is there, it continues to go throughout the entire training block. So, for a numerous amount of weeks. What that means though is you're having to keep on increasing your volume throughout that. And obviously you've got to recover, and the more volume you put in, the more recovery time it's going to take. So So obviously there has to be a cut-off point where you can't continue on from that point, and you might have to rotate, put a deload in, or something along them lines to actually sort of bring yourself back down again. What they found as well, which is really interesting in the research, is that, again, we're talking about natural lifters, is that 6 sets, if you, in one workout, if you work a muscle or a muscle group to 6 sets and beyond, there's no further effect to protein synthesis and therefore muscle building beyond 6 sets. So what that means is if you want to do, if someone said, right, you should do 15 sets per week as an example for this particular muscle group, well, the issue you're going to do is if you're training that once per week, is you've wasted a load of sets on that workout. So you've got to split it. Now, even if you think about it 15 sets, I mean, say towards the end of a block, it's 20 sets as an example per week. Well, you've got to train that 3 times a week then, because you can't get 6 and 6, that's 12. So straight away, even with 15, you're not going to get that in 2 workouts per week. Obviously, this is, with regards to protein synthesis, we've still got to factor in recovery, but remembering, for muscle anyway, protein synthesis, when that starts to stop, the reason it stopped is because guess what? You've recovered. So therefore, they're kind of one and the same. So if protein synthesis occurs for 4 days, as an example, then you can train again in 4 days. If it's happening for 3 days, you can train again in 3 days for that muscle group. So obviously you're rotating, so you can train, every day, or near enough every day, and therefore you work your, 2 to 3 times per week potentially. Now obviously it depends on the muscles, so if you think about it logically, a bigger muscle, say like quads, if you push that to the same limit as you push biceps or a smaller muscle group, you're going to get more muscle damage. It's going to take longer to recover because there's just more work to be done. So I would say that a good idea is to probably train the bigger muscle groups maybe a couple of times a week, which again might not be considered as optimum with the protein synthesis side of the coin. But then you could argue maybe that's why the range of 2 to 4 exists. Maybe the 2 is true because of less muscle damage, less repair needed, less protein synthesis time is taken, and the bigger muscle groups need longer. So in truth, it probably still works in quite optimally, but even if it didn't, you've got to recover. So maybe big muscle groups, so like quads, hamstrings, glute max, lats, chest, you probably train them twice a week. And then smaller muscle groups, so like biceps, triceps, forearms, deltoid, middle traps, upper traps, even calves, you could train them 3 or even 4 times a week. Again, you're going to have variances from individuals. Some people recover quicker. Obviously, recovery is complex. Some people sleep a lot better and sleep for longer. Some people haven't got that ability to do that. Stress is a big factor. So if you're very stressed, you're going to recover slower. Obviously, health conditions, diabetes and such like. Again, there's going to be factors there. And your diet. So obviously if you're trying to build muscle and lose weight at the same time, you can do that. It's not probably as ideally optimum, but it means you're not going to recover quite as quickly because you're not fueling yourself to repair and recover as quickly. So again, the diet's going to make a difference as well, protein and when you take it and all the rest of it. So but that's obviously a different subject area. So obviously the protein synthesis effect is lasting for that 2 to 4 day window, but remembering it's not just about muscle recovery. So you could say, well, what about tendons? What about the joints? And that's very true. So what this means is if you were letting tendons and joints recover 100%, you wouldn't be able to train probably that often, which would mean you wouldn't move anywhere. So you've kind of got to take a compromise there. And what that means is you essentially work where they're slightly degenerating over time, a little bit, not majorly. Obviously you don't want to overload them too far, but you're building up a bit of cumulative damage there. So what it means is that you can't repair that in the course of a week. So first of all, you could do your deload week. Now obviously a deload will give you some repair, but remembering tendons and joints take probably even longer than a week, depending on how far you've been going, how hard you've been training and all the rest of it in that block. So basically you've got to probably have even longer than that. What that means is you probably want to do a microcycle with a certain rotation of exercises, working, like say, half the week to failure, half the week to not quite to failure, and again doing the big muscle groups twice a week and the smaller muscle groups maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and then obviously once you hit the end of that, which could be maybe 4 or 5 or even 6 weeks depending on how you feel and how well you can go, all the while increasing the volume obviously as you go up, so the set numbers and stuff are increasing to increase that stimulation for further development. when you hit the max on that particular block, you then a deload week to repair, replenish and recover like glycogen stores and various other things, and a bit of repair on the other structures. But again, you're still going to have some lag on your tendons and joints. So then you go into your next cycle, different rotation of exercises, same sort of type of split, everything pretty much the same, but obviously different exercises to create new stimulus. And then of course you do that for again another 4, 5, 6 weeks. Now at that point, you have accumulated a lot of in the actual structures such as tendons and joints. So at that point, you probably need then a maintenance block. So really you could do with a month of much lower load, much lower volume, lower frequency as well. Remembering this is maintenance, not about growth. It takes a lot more to grow muscle than it does to maintain muscle. So at this point, you then do a month of that to essentially try to really repair, recover, replenish. And the other thing is maybe to re-stimulate, so you get very desensitized as you find when the training goes on, the protein synthesis levels dropping, the muscle damage drops, the soreness drops. So you're almost trying to reset and restart again. So you restart again and hopefully you've repaired all of the little bits of damage and stuff back to baseline and you're good to go again, and you just keep on rotating that process. So like I said before, obviously this is a guide, everybody's different. People recover faster, people can train to failure more, it's going to be very, very different from individual to individual. So really I would say use this as a template and a guide, and then tweak it, adjust it. If you feel like you need to decrease a bit here because you're finding something's an issue or whatever, then just you can mix that around a little bit. And again, the same goes for the set numbers, the same goes for the block lengths. Everything really has an element of ability to change that around. So, but what it shows is, one thing is certain, don't train once per week, because really you're not going to get that effect. It's just going to peter off and you're going to keep on going 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Or at worst case scenario, if you're unlucky, 2 steps back. You never feel like you're moving forwards. So basically that's the plan of action for you. So hopefully that covers things. So there'll be a reference list at the end showing you all the research that I've been talking about, and I'll also put it in the comment section so that you can actually click on and have a look at it as well. And yeah, so that concludes today's training tip. So basically, if you like the video, then obviously give us a thumbs up, and any comments would be welcome. So either on the YouTube channel or on social media. And yeah, and also subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time for another training tip.